Welcome, and thank you so much for joining me. Usborne Books and More have so many different kinds of books. Some of my favorite books are books about feelings, social, emotional books, books that are going to help our kids navigate and understand the big, complex, crazy world of emotions. Maybe your kids are like mine and they need a little bit of help learning how to share, which they can do in Fair Shares with Hare and Bear. And it's a fun rhyming book. They learn to share pears. Hare can't reach. They need to get some chairs to help them get the pears. Hare wants 2 chairs and Bear needs 1 to reach. And Bear says it's not fair that you have 2 chairs, and so he takes 1 chair away from Hare. But then we learn that sharing doesn't always mean you get the same thing. Sometimes sharing means you get what's fair for you, which is a really great book for siblings, because sometimes what's fair for a really, really little one might not be what's fair for an older kid, and that's really hard to understand for kids. So this story puts it in a great, silly and fun, but understandable and relatable way. Maybe your kids struggle with what ifs. This book, Jonathan James and the What If Monster, is a really great story to help our kids turn those negative what ifs. What if you tumble? What if there's wind? What if you slip and your knee gets all skinned? Turning those negative what ifs into something positive. What if the chance I take in the end is just how I find my very best friend? So we can take those scared feelings, those what if I can't do it, what if I fail, and we can turn them into something positive. What if I try anyway? And it's amazing. That's Jonathan James and the What If Monster. And there's also a little What If Monster plush. They come separately, but you can order them together, and then your little ones can hug and squeeze their What If Monster as they read this book, and all of their what ifs and their worries can fade away. Maybe, also like my kids, your little ones struggled with being not very afraid of the dark. This is a really awesome, beautiful book about being afraid of the dark, and that's totally understandable. The dark has shadows. Things look different at night. But when we have the courage to switch off our light, we see something truly amazing. All of those beautiful stars. And this page, these are actually cut out. Can you see? There's a lot of stars that are actually cut out. And so if you take like your cell phone light or a flashlight and you shine it behind the page, it'll project these beautiful stars up on the ceiling. And reading this story before bedtime has really helped my kids to be not so afraid of the dark, because we get to watch the beautiful stars in the sort of dark, and then we turn the flashlight off and they're ready to go to bed. So that's I'm not very afraid of the dark. And we have a couple of other ones like this that deal with other emotions as well. Or maybe, unfortunately, your kids might have come across some bullies or some people who have spoken some doubts into them and have made them feel like they're not good enough or they can't do something. These are 2 of my absolutely favorite books. Cordelia was my very first favorite, and then Stellarphant is a brand new book and is quickly becoming another favorite. In Cordelia, my favorite little girl, little redheaded girl, she can fly. And she has so much fun flying, and she knows she can fly, and she feels so strong and empowered. But the people around her, they don't believe that she can fly. Even though she tells them that she can, they don't listen to her. And because they doubt her, she starts to doubt herself as well. And because she's filled with those doubts, she stops being able to fly. Cordelia began to walk in an ordinary way, like everybody else, on an ordinary day. And so she feels gray, and she feels sad, and she can't have her magic of flight anymore because she believed those doubts. But then she kind of gets a little upset about it, and she decides, you know what? I'm not going to listen to those doubts. I'm going to fly anyway. She knew just who she was, knew who she could be, and this belief in herself set Cordelia free. Just because another can't see this world like you doesn't make things impossible or mean they are not true. If you guys have little ones, this book is a must-have. And then, sort of similar, Stellarphant. This is about an elephant who wants to become an astronaut, and she goes to Space Command, and they say, you can't. You're an elephant. You're too big. We don't have a spacesuit that will fit you. And she thinks about it for a minute, and she goes home and she measures and she sews, and she puts together her own spacesuit that is shaped for an elephant. And then the front desk guy, he says, well, okay, you did that, but you also need some training. And so he just throws obstacle after obstacle, doubt after doubt into her face, and she just overcomes them. She does training, she graduates, she builds her own spaceship so that it's big enough for her big size. And then they have this big meeting, and they're still not going to let her become an astronaut. And then she realizes, I don't need your approval. I did everything I did to get to this point, I did by myself, and I can fly by myself too. So she flies into space with all of her friends. She doesn't need the Space Command or the people who didn't have any faith in her. There she is in space. And then because of her, she starts her own space station, and all of these other animals get to fly into space too. And that's such a great moral of the story. And then in the back, there's this really fun timeline of actual animals and bugs and things that have actually been in space, starting with a fruit fly. And then humans actually came into space after all of these other creatures. Isn't that fascinating? And then all of these bugs and animals and things were in space after us, ending with 2011 with the bobtail squid. So a little bit of factual information in there in your storybook. Okay, on a more serious note, this book is a heartbreaker, but it's so good for children who might have somebody in their family who is ill. This is called The Perfect Shelter, and in this book, this little girl's sister is very sick. It does not give a specific illness, and it does not end in a way that implies that she got better or did not get better, if you know where I'm going with that. So it's applicable to terminal illnesses, or maybe just something scary that's actually going to be okay in the end. They keep it kind of ambiguous in that way, so it can be, it can be used for all situations. But it's such a sweet story about this little girl who's going through some big feelings as she realizes that her best friend, her sister, has this terrible illness. And you'll notice throughout the story, whenever the little sister has big emotions, the weather emulates what she's feeling. So on this page, for example, they are visiting her sister in the hospital. And it says, in the hospital, I felt cross and sad and frightened all at the same time. How did it get there? Why can't she come home? Why my sister? I tried my best to listen, but I saw a bright light flash, and I heard a loud sound, crack. And so throughout the book, the weather really gives a good example of how we can be feeling inside sometimes. And then the sister does get to come home. She's still a little weak and she needs to rest, but she gets to come home and the girls play together. So it is an upper. It is a happy ending book. But like I said, the ending is a little open-ended so that you can use it, as you need to if you're faced with this difficult situation in your own home. The Perfect Shelter. On a happier note, maybe your family or somebody you know is expecting a new baby. Soon is a really cute story about a mama mouse who is expecting a new baby and a little mouse who is trying to understand what that means. And they're excited and they can't wait. We are waiting for our baby. Wait, wait, wait. When will the baby come, Mom? Soon, she says. It is such a sweet and cute book, and it helps our little ones understand how things might change a little bit and how we have to be patient and wait because it takes a long time to have a baby sometimes. So this is a really great book, and we have a lot of other ones that are geared towards children who are all of the sudden going to become siblings. So if that's a situation that you guys have in your household or someone you know, let me know, and I would be happy to recommend even more books that are really great for welcoming a new baby into the family or helping children navigate becoming an older sibling. Okay, the last two books that I have to show you today are all about the big feeling of having a tantrum. If you have had small children, you know what I mean. My kids are 4 and 2, so we are in Tantrum City right now, have been for a couple years, and these books get read a lot in this house, and we do have others that help with calming and breathing through it. But these are two of my favorites. This one is called Red, Red, Red. Well, this little one bangs her head. Here she is seeing red, red, red. She's so mad. And the mom helps calm her. So there's a really great counting and breathing technique in this book. So I like to read this book when my daughter is actually having one of her big out of control emotions. I get this book out and I read it to her and we count to 10 together and then we breathe. So here you can see the mom is teaching her daughter to count to 10. And at first the daughter's like, 1, like she's not having it, right? And you can see the more she counts, the calmer she gets. So she's starting to mellow out by the time she gets to 6. It's a good way to put some time between what happened and how you're feeling. And then by 10, she's smiling. And then after 10, we breathe. And the mom is breathing with her. And she's not mad anymore. And she tells her mom, I love you. And then everything is better. And then this Wobbler is a tantrum. So in Barbara Throws a Wobbler, we have a visual of what a tantrum can look like if it gets kind of out of control, and it helps kids figure out how to manage those feelings. Barbara was in a very bad mood. I am not, she said. But she was. Things were going from bad to worse. Have you guys ever had a day like that? Barbara threw a great big wobbler. Look at her scream. She's so mad. And look, all of that anger in her mouth as she's screaming is coming out into the air around her. And then suddenly, the wobbler was actually there. Barbara had a think. It had been quite a day. Remember, she had the sock issue, and then there was that strange pee, and then she stepped on the cracks, and then, oh, she spilled her ice cream. Then she thought some more and said, well, if I made you, can't I unmake you? So Barbara took a deep breath, and with a pop, it disappeared completely. But what do you guys see? There's a whole bunch of wobblers just waiting to come out. Thanks to this book, we now know that because we've created that wobbler, we can unmake it by taking a deep breath and letting it just go away. Sometimes you really need to get those yucky feelings out first before you can let them go. And that's okay. As long as you know that you have the power to make your wobbler go away. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. That is all I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for giving me your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.